Why did America abandon the gold standard in 1971? What makes oil more powerful than the metal that backed currencies for millennia? How can a single commodity topple governments without firing a shot? When did control over black crude become deadlier than hoarding gold bars? Why do nations with massive gold reserves still bow to countries controlling oil fields? What transformed a simple energy source into history's most powerful geopolitical weapon? The answers to these questions reveal the hidden foundation of modern power, explain today's conflicts, and show why your gas prices are connected to global wars. For thousands of years, gold symbolized ultimate wealth and power. Ancient empires accumulated it. Modern nations stockpiled it in massive vaults. But during the 20th century, something unprecedented happened. A viscous black liquid trapped in underground rock formations became more strategically critical than all the gold humanity ever mined. This wasn't random chance. It resulted from technological revolutions, calculated political maneuvering, and brutal competition for global dominance. Understanding this transformation is essential for comprehending modern geopolitics, international economics, and the real reasons behind contemporary conflicts. The gold standard dominated international finance from the 1800s until the mid-20th century. Under this system, paper currency directly represented physical gold reserves. Countries couldn't arbitrarily print money. Every banknote theoretically corresponded to actual gold sitting in national vaults. This arrangement provided stability and limited inflation, but it also severely constrained government flexibility. Britain's enormous gold reserves gave it tremendous financial power throughout the 19th century. The system worked smoothly during peacetime, but collapsed under the pressures of World War I, when nations needed unlimited funds to finance unprecedented military spending. Oil's strategic importance emerged gradually during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Initially valued primarily for kerosene lighting, petroleum's true potential became apparent with the internal combustion engine's invention. The automobile revolutionized transportation, but oil's military applications proved even more transformative. Britain's Royal Navy, under Winston Churchill's direction, converted from coal to oil before World War I. This decision dramatically increased naval speed and operational range, but it also created a critical vulnerability. Britain produced virtually no oil domestically. This strategic gamble foreshadowed oil's coming dominance over global power structures. World War II definitively proved oil's supreme strategic value. Germany's synthetic fuel programs and desperate campaigns toward Caucasian oil fields demonstrated petroleum's military criticality. Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor directly resulted from American oil embargoes, threatening to cripple Japanese war machinery. Meanwhile, America's massive petroleum production gave Allied forces an insurmountable advantage. Tanks, ships, and aircraft all demanded enormous fuel supplies. Germany's Wehrmacht literally ground to a halt when fuel ran out. The lesson was unmistakable. Modern military power absolutely required secure oil access. Victory went to nations controlling petroleum, regardless of gold reserves. After 1945, America emerged as the undisputed superpower, partly because it controlled approximately two-thirds of global oil production. The Bretton Woods system established the dollar as the world's reserve currency, theoretically backed by gold but increasingly dependent on petroleum. American oil companies dominated Middle Eastern production through favorable concession agreements. This dual control over both the international monetary system and global oil supplies gave Washington unprecedented power. Other nations needed dollars to buy oil, and they needed oil to run modern economies. America effectively controlled the world's economic bloodstream. The 1970s brought seismic shifts that permanently cemented oil's supremacy over gold. In 1971, President Nixon ended dollar-gold convertibility, effectively terminating the gold standard. This potentially weakened the dollar's international standing, but American officials engineered a brilliant solution, the petrodollar system. Through negotiations with Saudi Arabia and other OPEC members, the United States ensured that oil would be priced and traded exclusively in dollars. This arrangement was revolutionary and would fundamentally transform the architecture of global power and international finance. Every nation needing oil, which meant virtually every nation had to maintain dollar reserves. This created automatic global demand for American currency, regardless of gold backing. The system effectively replaced gold with oil as the foundation of international finance. Countries needed dollars not to redeem them for gold, but to purchase the petroleum essential for modern civilization. Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states agreed to recycle their massive oil revenues into American Treasury bonds, further strengthening this system. The petrodollar transformed oil into something beyond mere commodity. It became the cornerstone of American global hegemony. Oil's power as an economic weapon became brutally apparent during the 1973 Arab oil embargo. OPEC nations, protesting Western support for Israel during the Yom Kippur War, reduced production and embargoed exports to certain countries. The result was devastating. Quadrupled oil prices, economic chaos, and miles-long gas station lines in America and Europe. This demonstrated that oil exporters wielded enormous coercive power without firing a single shot. The embargo revealed oil's unique characteristics as a strategic weapon that no other commodity could match. Unlike gold, which could be stockpiled indefinitely, oil had to flow continuously to power modern economies. Disrupting this flow immediately crippled industrial production, transportation, and heating. Advanced economies proved incredibly vulnerable to supply interruptions. The crisis also showed that oil's power was bidirectional. Producers could weaponize supply, while consumers could weaponize demand and access. This mutual vulnerability created complex interdependencies that shaped subsequent decades of international relations. Oil had become the ultimate leverage point in global politics, far more immediately powerful than gold reserves ever were. Oil's military significance extends beyond fueling tanks and jets. Control over petroleum resources and transportation routes became primary strategic objectives. The Carter Doctrine, announced in 1980, explicitly declared that America would use military force to maintain access to Persian Gulf oil. Subsequent conflicts, the Gulf War, Iraq War, and ongoing Middle Eastern interventions, all involved petroleum interests, though rarely acknowledged publicly. Military bases throughout oil-producing regions, naval forces protecting tanker routes, and massive defense commitments to oil-rich allies all reflected oil's supreme strategic value. Modern economic sanctions demonstrate oil's coercive power. Cutting countries off from international oil markets can devastate their economies far more effectively than seizing gold reserves. Sanctions against Iran, Russia, and Venezuela have all targeted petroleum exports and imports. These measures work because modern economies cannot function without oil, unlike gold, which serves primarily as a store of value. Control over oil infrastructure, shipping routes, insurance markets, and payment systems gives dominant powers tremendous leverage. This represents a form of economic warfare, impossible under the gold standard era. Paradoxically, oil wealth often damages producing nations, a phenomenon economists call the resource curse. Countries with vast oil reserves frequently experience corruption, authoritarianism, economic distortion, and conflict. Unlike gold mining, petroleum extraction requires minimal labor and generates enormous concentrated wealth, reducing government accountability to citizens. Oil revenues fund authoritarian regimes, fuel civil wars, and distort economic development. This curse demonstrates how oil's power differs fundamentally from gold's. While gold enriched those possessing it, oil's strategic importance often brings violence, foreign intervention, and political instability to producing regions. Contemporary geopolitical competition remains centered on oil access and control. Russia leverages its petroleum exports to influence European politics. China secures oil supplies through massive infrastructure investments and diplomatic initiatives. America maintains its Middle Eastern military presence primarily to ensure stable oil flows. Pipeline routes, shipping choke points like the Strait of Hormuz, and drilling rights in contested waters all generate international tensions. These conflicts rarely involve gold, but constantly revolve around petroleum. Oil's geographic concentration in politically volatile regions creates persistent instability that shapes global power dynamics. Modern civilization's complete dependence on oil distinguishes it fundamentally from gold. Petroleum provides approximately one-third of global primary energy, fuels 95% of transportation, and serves as the feedstock for countless products from plastics to pharmaceuticals. This deep integration into technological civilization gives oil unprecedented strategic value. Economies can function without gold-backed currency, but they cannot operate without oil, at least not yet. This technological lock-in creates the vulnerabilities that make oil such an effective weapon. Nations controlling oil supplies literally control the fuel enabling modern life. Oil supremacy may finally face challenges from climate change concerns and renewable energy development. The transition away from fossil fuels could fundamentally reshape global power structures, potentially diminishing oil's geopolitical significance. However, this transition remains incomplete and contested. Oil-producing nations resist change while consuming nations struggle with the massive costs of transformation. The time frame remains uncertain, and petroleum will likely retain strategic importance for decades. Whether renewable energy creates new power dynamics, comparable to oil's dominance over gold, represents one of the 21st century's most significant geopolitical questions. Oil replaced gold as the world's ultimate weapon because modern civilization requires continuous energy flows in ways it never needed gold. While gold served as a store of value and monetary standard, oil powers transportation, industry, agriculture, and military forces. Its geographic concentration, physical necessity, and integration into every aspect of modern life give it coercive power that gold never possessed. Understanding this transformation explains contemporary conflicts, economic sanctions, military interventions, and international power structures. Until humanity transitions to alternative energy sources, oil will remain the black gold that truly rules the world.